Makers is a first of its kind digital video and broadcast initiative that I created with PBS, AOL, and Simple Facial Skincare that aims to be the largest collection of women's stories ever assembled.
We have over 15 million women visiting our sites every single day. So that's a lot of women that we hope to inspire and connect with amazing content. And the stories that you find on makers.com are really that. They're inspirational, amazing, personal stories from incredible women, people like Hillary Clinton to Diane von Furstenberg, to someone's name you may not even know, Brenda Berkman, who was the first female firefighter.
Ladies, one more. I think all of us in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s were so busy trying to prove ourselves that we didn't have time to look back a little bit and to understand these phenomenal stories. I mean, these women of courage and chutzpah and creativity and what they did to buck a system that was just so unfair. And so this has been an incredible privilege to work on this story.
Dylan McGee, who wanted to do something, record the women's movement, asked me if I would use my life as a way into the women's movement, and I said no, because a movement is not one person. And Dylan, to her credit, took this and created scholarly panels, activist panels, selected 100 living women to, it just blossomed from there.
Honey, when was the last time you baked a cake?
Last week, dear.
I was brought up in the Betty Crocker era. You had to get married and you had to have a child.
Landlords felt single women couldn't earn enough to pay for the apartment, and if you could earn enough, you must be a hooker.
In order to get people's attention, you gotta blow a loud trumpet. You gotta beat the drum loudly. And nobody listens to you when you go quietly into the night.
I'm very excited to be the new ambassador for Simple, which is really, really exciting. And the other is that this is an incredible documentary series, and I cannot wait to watch it. I think if Marnie watched Makers, she would feel a little bit guilty about the fact that she hadn't been figuring out what she's passionate about, and then in turn that she hadn't been following her passions. I think one of the things that's amazing about these women is that they've all figured out what they're passionate about, and they strive to achieve a lot in the field that is. And Marnie doesn't really know what she's passionate about, so I think this would be a really good wake-up call to be like, all right, it's time to do some soul searching, let's figure it out. My dad was such an attentive dad, and he worked so hard to make that his priority, and I still feel incredibly indebted to him for that, but I know that it's equally difficult for a female anchor or a female news person, so I'm really excited to see the other side of that story. And these are women I truly admire, and I've had the privilege of meeting them a couple of times throughout my life, but I just hope to learn more about them tonight. My parents are definitely makers in my life. I would say that my grandmother on both sides of the family were definitely inspirational for me. My grandfathers, for that matter, actually. And I would say Julie Andrews and Meryl Streep were big for me. I probably wouldn't be acting if I hadn't seen Julie Andrews just killing it on a mountaintop, singing at the top of her lungs, totally inspired and ready for whatever was headed her way.
It's exciting to be sort of spotlighted in this extraordinary effort, because I think this will be a learning tool for young women and young men everywhere. I think there's such a variety of women who are profiled and so many accomplished people in so many different areas. Just an opportunity to really kind of be a blueprint for aspiring people everywhere.
It really impacted how I saw myself and how I fought for a seat at the table.
What we are talking about is a revolution and not a reform.
It was exhilarating. It was also somewhat torturing because we were breaking new ground.
I have to say that I may be one of the few people who is not surprised to see the enthusiasm and the caring and the support of 1,000 people here, because accidentally I'm recognizable as part of the women's movement. And because of that accident, people come up to me in the street every day.
It's so real, and it seems like yesterday, every single thing. I remember so many of the moments in the film, as if it were right yesterday. John McCarter, that funny takeover of Ladies' Home Journal magazine, walking the big march, the remarks of so many of the women involved, the Billie Jean King and her big tennis match with Riggs. Oh my gosh, it really is. It just brings it all right back.
It was incredibly special, and my first thought was, I'm so sad that this wasn't around when I was growing up and I wasn't able to watch this when I was younger. Because I feel like, as a kid you learn about all of these feminist movements, but very piecemeal, and you learn about them sort of one at a time, and that sort of broad sweeping movement of change is very hard to illustrate, even in a history textbook. And I got a great education. I've never heard this information so clearly outlined.